Do you have any idea what you're supposed to do in a restaurant when the server brings a bottle of wine that you ordered and shows it to you? Oh, what are you supposed to do? Hey, I'm Pierre Asti, sommelier and founder of Asti Wine Consultants. Today, we're talking about what not to do in a restaurant. Hey posse, are you ready to bust another wine myth? The wine world is full of myths and false facts. Even though we're becoming more educated as a society about all these false wine facts, there's still some misinformation floating around out there. I'm here to clear up some of the more obvious mistruths, that's easy for me to say, and misunderstandings surrounding what's going on around the wine world. Actually, I have a whole series of videos that bust some of these wine myths. Be sure to check out that playlist if you find this video helpful. So back to the initial question. Do you have any idea what you're supposed to do in a restaurant when the server brings a bottle of wine that you ordered and shows it to you? He'll display it something like this. And then they take the cork out of the bottle and set it down in front of you. What's the deal with that? What are you supposed to do? Good gosh, and then the coup de grace is they pour a little bit of wine in the glass as if you were supposed to taste it. What's that all about? All right, settle down. These are good questions. By the end of this video, you'll be able to tackle these 3 awkward moments like a pro. Now also remember, this is a myth video, so we'll be putting to rest some misconceptions. Now, if you find this video helpful, be sure to watch my other myth videos and begin your journey to become an official Asti Wine Consultants Wine Mythbuster. We'll have more information for you in the description. Now also, keep in mind, at any time, if you like what you hear, click like, subscribe, and hit the little bell so you'll be notified when there's a new post. And also, make sure you share this with your friends. I'm absolutely positive this will be helpful to them. Are you ready to get started? Let's go. Here's how myth number 1 works. When at a restaurant, the server shows you the bottle of wine you had ordered off the menu. What's the deal with that? Here's the tasting ritual that the server goes through. After you selected and you ordered your bottle of wine off the menu, the first thing they do is bring the bottle of wine to your table and show it or display it. Your job is to check and see if the wine is exactly what you ordered. The thing that you really want to watch out for is the different vintage. Now the other night, I was at a restaurant. I ordered a Louis Martini Cabernet Sauvignon 2017. The server brought the Martini Cab 2019. If you're not particular, the 2019 would be just fine. But the 2017 was a much better year. 17 was a world-class wine, the 19 wasn't, and it was at the same price. I asked her if she had the 17. She went back to the back and brought out the 17. Frequently, the vintage changes and the restaurants don't make the change on the menu. If that happens, you have to decide, do I want that vintage or not? Once you settle on the wine, at that point, you have made your selection. It's pretty simple. Now here comes myth number 2. Smell the cork. This is a great one. I love this one. So now you know you have the wine that you ordered. So they open the bottle and put the cork on the table. Now back in the day, who knows when and who knows who, somebody just picked up a cork and smelled it. This is great. Let me ask you a question. What do you think a cork in a wine bottle smells like? It's going to smell a lot like a cork coming out of a wine bottle. The thing you're supposed to be doing is to see and smell whether or not the wine is any good and make sure it doesn't smell corked. smelling cork means it smells something like wet wool or wet cardboard. The thing that you don't want is for your wine to smell corked. The reality is, smelling the cork will tell most consumers almost nothing about how your wine is going to be tasting. If it's slightly flawed, corked, unless you have a trained nose, you'll probably not be able to pick up that off of the cork. Here's the busting part of the myth. Rather than smelling the cork, this is what you want to do. Take a look at the cork and see where the wine has stained it. This is a little bit more difficult with white wine, but still relatively easy to do. This is how the cork should look. There will be a little bit of color on the tip of the cork. Here's another cork. Do you see how the color of the wine runs up the cork? If your server was to set this cork down in front of you, you would want to investigate that wine a little bit further. Some corks will have runners going all the way up the side. If you see a runner going all the way up to the top of the cork, you'll want to send that bottle of wine back. Now, having problems with bad or corked wine is very rare. If you're presented with a cork that the cork is not quite right, then you can ask the server for another bottle, or tell the server that the cork is damaged. Let them know you're not sure whether it's from heat damage or just a bad cork. Hand the cork back to the server. So, do you smell the cork? No, it's busted. You check to see if the wine looks good by looking at the cork. Are you ready for myth number 3? The server will then pour a small tasting. Many of us believe that the server is pouring that small tasting of wine to see if we like it. That's myth number 3. You have already chosen the wine. When they're serving that small tasting, it's our responsibility to check 2 things. Number 1 is to see if the wine smells clean, or does it have that moldy, wet wool, wet cardboard sort of smell. And if it does, let the server know, and if it's bad or corked, they'll take it back. Here you don't need to do anything more than smell the wine. You really don't need to taste it. You're not checking to see if you like it, you're checking to see if it's good or bad. Unless it's bad or flawed, corked wine, once the cork has been pulled from the wine, it's your wine. It was your decision to choose or select that wine by the label. In other words, unless it smells corked, it's too late to send it back. You can't taste it and then say, actually, no thanks. The fact of the matter is, buddy, sorry, it's yours. You're paying for it. Anyhow, the second thing you're going to be doing here is to either, by tasting it or feeling the glass, you're checking to see the temperature. If it's too warm, whether it's a red or a white wine, you can ask for an ice bucket or some way to chill the wine. If it's too cold, just ask the server to not put it in an ice bucket, but just leave it on the table for it to warm up a little bit. So, to wrap this up, when the server brings the wine, are you checking to see if you like it? No. Busted. During the whole tasting ritual presented by your server, what you're doing is checking to see if the wine is good, as in clean, not as in it's your preference. And you do this by checking out the cork and smelling or tasting the wine. Well, there you have it. We just busted 3 wine myths. Now remember, if you want to be a certified Asti Wine Consultant's official wine mythbuster, then check out the description below to learn the requirements. Thanks so much for investing the time to watch this video. If you got something out of it, let me know in the comments below, and also subscribe and hit the little bell to be notified when I post new videos. And please share this video if it was helpful to you. I would really appreciate it. Again, thanks for joining me. Make sure you watch the other videos that I talked about. And remember to hit like and subscribe if you got something out of this video. Until next time, cheers.